Hey, I'm Travis.
And I'm Adele. And we want to welcome you to this episode all about when she is unfaithful and the husband is betrayed. We want to bring you some practical tools today to help you get through this if this is you. And also thank you for commenting about this. This is why we are doing this episode today, is from one of your comments.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's dive in. Okay, so the question is, I would really love more content around the dynamic of healing from betrayal with a male betrayed and the female unfaithful. There's very little content around this dynamic, and there's so much that is different in that healing journey. A man's role as the leader of a household after betrayal is a very difficult road, and there is not a lot out there that helps and supports those men who choose to stay, but now have an incredibly difficult journey ahead of them. And the same on the unfaithful female healing journey when she is remorseful and trying to heal and deal with the change in their relationship. How can she support her betrayed husband during the healing journey while also healing herself? There is so much that would be helpful, and there just isn't that much out there that we have found.
There is a gap. There's a gap between who's a betrayer and who's the betrayed. And we do, like our story is the husband is the betrayer and you're the betrayed. But we do get this comment often where the wife is the one who was the one who betrayed.
Right.
The spouse.
Right, and what we've learned through our own journey and working with other couples where the dynamic is switched is that the principles that we teach on our channel, the core principles, they're really all the same, and they do apply to the opposite dynamic. I know that it's difficult to relate to when you are the opposite, and we really understand that, and that's why we want to address all forms of betrayal so that our channel is inclusive in all of that.
Yeah, and there are some different, even though the bigger picture is still the same, there are different ways that men process emotions and betrayal versus the way women process emotion and betrayal.
Right. Yes, because the man is dealing with a lot of pain, and how do I express that in a world where men aren't supposed to show feelings? And then the wife is walking through the shame, similar to what you described, and the remorse of being unfaithful.
Yeah.
And how does she walk through that in a God-honoring way?
Right. Let's talk about some different statistics.
Yeah.
So,
give them to me, babe. I know you love statistics.
I do. So there's rising rates. The significant 40% increase in infidelity among women in the last 20 years is a key trend. Specifically, emotional affairs. This is a key area for women. This is where women stand out significantly. So 73% of women would be very upset by emotional cheating compared to 56% of men. And this highlights the different ways men and women perceive and are affected by infidelity. There's a prevalence. One study found that 91.6% of women admitted to having an emotional affair, compared to 78.6% of men. 70% of all Americans engage in some extramarital affair sometime during their marital life.
What? That is high. 70%.
And this points to the importance of defining cheating beyond just physical intimacy, as it can include emotional affairs.
I would even say beyond sex, because it's not physical intimacy.
Right.
It's sexual activity that's happening a lot of times that mixes in all the emotions with it. But I think it's also interesting that only 10% end up in a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
There's a lot to that.
It says that most affairs end in less than, I think, a couple weeks. And I think that kind of goes along with what we already know. There is a lot of lies that are behind the affair.
That's right. So let's just jump in. Babe, I would love for you to share a betrayed husband's journey and what that would look like as you put yourself in those shoes to reclaim your leadership and healing.
Let's talk about the betrayed husband's journey. There is a sense of a deeper loss of leadership whenever the man is the one who is betrayed and the wife is the one doing the betrayal, there is like this, my leadership has been cut out from under me.
It's like a loss of confidence.
It is. It removes the confidence. It's kind of like my identity, my foundation of who I am, my manhood has been cut out from underneath the man.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I think that it's also attached to not being able to openly grieve because of that when there's a big loss of leadership within the relationship.
Yeah, and even the thought process of what that even looks like in a healthy way is, how does a man grieve? How does a man process emotions, specifically in a world right now where that's not common? It's not common for a man to have an ability to share.
No, I think there's this expectation that men need to be stoic and keep it together and be strong, which for me is not how I would describe a strong man. I think a strong man is a man that is expressing his emotions, especially when there's grief there.
Yeah.
That would be healthy to
Thank
do
you.
that.
I agree with that. I think that is a good example of a strong man. Find healthy outlets for their pain. And that's what I would recommend too, is as a betrayed husband, you have pain. And it would be important to find healthy, God-honoring outlets to work on that pain. Find a coach, accountability partners. Go to church and speak to a pastor and let them know where you're at and the support that you need. You need people who love Jesus, who love you, who are for your marriage and will speak truth and life into you. And then you'll need those outlets to be able to get healing from.
Yeah, and I think there is such a struggle. Like, if I was to put myself in those shoes, there would be a big struggle in just loving the wife through the pain. I can imagine that would be really hard because I experienced that was hard for me to love you through my pain. That it would be even exponentially harder for a man.
Yeah, I could see that.
So we just want to reiterate that your pain is legitimate, and it really does deserve the space that it needs for you to heal. It is absolutely not a sign of weakness that you are in pain if you are a betrayed husband. And you've already mentioned accountability is so important, and I just wanted to piggyback on that because I think it's important for anyone going through betrayal to have community and accountability. But when there's betrayal trauma for a man, most men do not have a good, solid community to dive into to get help and support and encouragement and prayer and love. So I just really want to encourage you to step into that and do that for yourself because it's necessary and it's needed to help you get through this, to become stronger through it and not allow betrayal to just sabotage you and what's left of the marriage.
Yeah, not only that, but be God-centered. You know, we mentioned earlier that this can have an impact on your feelings of your identity, like who you are as a person. And it really does take that vertical relationship with God, letting Him fill you, letting Him complete you, letting Him speak truth and life into you of who you are as a man and what your identity is. And then having this brotherhood around you that can speak truth and grace and life into you to help rebuild who you are in your relationship.
And I don't know your story of you that's listening today, but I do know that oftentimes when the wife has been unfaithful and the husband has been betrayed, oftentimes it is the wife seeking emotional connection because it is how we're designed and wired, and it is more difficult for a man to connect emotionally inside a marriage because there's an enemy and he's very real and he tries to divide. And so I would just say fight for your wife's heart. Man, that's what she desires. She wants to be fought for. She wants you to really lean in and cover her in prayer, love. And I know it's hard when you're in pain. I know that it is because I've been betrayed. But I just want to encourage you that God would want you to fight for your family and not just give up. Because we hear comments on our channel, if my wife betrayed me, I wouldn't give her 2 seconds, or I would be out so fast. I mean, we hear that. But you are the leader. And whether or not you've been betrayed, you are the leader of this household. And God calls you to stand for covenant and to fight for your marriage. So I just want to encourage you to do that, even when it's hard.
That was good. Yeah. Something you just alluded to is typically that is what happens is women, when they are unfaithful, they're seeking emotional connection. And typically when men are unfaithful, they're seeking the physical connection to feel the emotional connection.
Mm-hmm. But what we both desire is emotional connection.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
In different ways.
Right.
And I love what you said is your wife really does want the emotional connection. She really does desire that. And as you're going through your healing process, and it's going to be hard to forgive, it's going to be hard to start learning to trust your wife,
just start sharing where you're at right now.
Yeah.
We have seen emotional intimacy born in the middle of the pain.
Yes.
Because one or both spouses start opening up and sharing what's in there.
Yeah.
And it still creates this emotional connection and this bond in the middle of the pain. It's powerful.
It is.
But it takes one or both of you starting to do that.
And as you're rebuilding trust, it's not going to look linear. It's not going to look like I'm down here and then I'm up here. As you're building trust again in your marriage, it's going to be all over the place.
Oh, yeah. It's a journey.
It is a journey, but it's a journey that's worthwhile as you're going through it. And as you're rebuilding trust, your wife is going to have actions that are consistent. They're going to have to line up with who it is they're committed to being, and you're going to have to look for that. But also you're going to need to be doing that too, is continually building trust. Because it's a covenantal marriage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would love to talk a little bit about the unfaithful wife and her journey of what that's supposed to look like. Because you need healing as well. You need support. But let's first just talk about navigating the remorse and the shame. Because there's a difference between guilt, which is feeling bad for what you did. That's actually a positive thing. It's a good thing that that's there, and hopefully it'll keep you from doing that again. But remorse is deep sorrow and pain, knowing that you've caused the pain against your commitment in the marriage. And you also have got to be committed to change in that remorse. And there's a difference. Like when you were showing up just feeling guilty versus showing up with remorse, they look different.
Yeah.
One is like it sounds a lot like, I'm so sorry. The other one is, I was wrong for what I did. I know I hurt you. Like, I am the cause. But it also comes with this repentant heart of, I never want this to happen again. And I'm going to do whatever it takes.
Yeah. Can I tell you what it looks like practically for me?
Yeah.
Is whenever I don't come to you with full remorse and a full, humble, repentant heart, what I'm doing is I'm still sitting on my throne of my own God. And it's still all about me.
And it's sensed on the other side.
It is. Mm-hmm. I'm protecting. I am not wanting to be fully transparent. I'm wanting to protect something in the relationship or protect me in different ways.
Self-preservation,
It
usually.
is. Whereas it is completely different whenever I would come to you fully humble and open and transparent and be transparent and honest with you.
I think what blocks that is shame. Like, shame is what keeps someone from being fully remorseful and repentant. Because there's this, like, self-condemnation, and that just hinders the ability to share, to open, myself to showing remorse, because it's about me. The next thing I would say is there's a desire to fix it. I want to fix this relationship. I have that desire anytime we're not good. Like, I want to fix this relationship and I want to make it better. And I just want you to know that you can't fix your husband's pain. That is going to be something that God has to do for him. And what you can do is provide consistent patience. You can work on your words and your actions lining up and being consistent, that over time those things would resolve and restore. But patience is a big part of it, because the healing journey of the betrayed spouse, whether you're a husband or a wife, is challenging. And it is an emotional roller coaster. And so lots of patience is needed.
No fixing. No fixing allowed. That's
right.
Good.
Your husband is also going to need a lot of support. So here's how you can provide that support. We've talked about this a lot on our channel as you shared your stories, but being radically transparent and accountable for all your actions is crucial in the healing process. This includes ending all contact with any affair partners. This includes being open about all my whereabouts, where I'm going, what I'm doing, who I'm talking to, answering any questions honestly and not getting upset. Why do you want to know that? You can trust me in this area. I know I upset you and I betrayed you, but come on.
Yeah.
Why all the control? And if I were to let that out, it's just going to intensify the betrayed spouse's feelings and emotions.
Developing healthy boundaries and safeguards as you're working to restore the relationship.
Yes, that's important. And in our next episode, we have a boundaries worksheet that we're going to give away for 48 hours for free. So you're gonna wanna tune in for that. But it also includes creating safety in the marriage, emotional safety. And so when your spouse is opening up and they're sharing about what's going on for them and their pain, it's really listening to understand and validating the pain rather than being defensive. And when I'm validating that, it gives you the ability to feel that safeness.
Can I share that every time that you have allowed me to share and you've been curious and I've had an ability to share what's on my heart, it actually, I feel connected to you and I feel intimacy. And can I also share that the times I've tried to share things on my heart and you've been defensive or shut me down, I actually don't want to share anymore and I feel disconnected from you. And so when she's saying an emotionally safe place, it really is helpful that you listen to your spouse, that you create a safe place for them to share. And listen, I don't want to pretend that this isn't hard things to go through and hard things that you're hearing. And I can't even imagine what it would be like to bite your tongue or not to lash out. However, what I want to share is that when the time is right and you have the ability to share. I also want to say that it would be great if you get the right support around you to help you in the sharing. Get a coach, get a therapist who actually specializes in betrayal that can walk right beside you, teaching how to share.
Yes, I think that it's important to understand that as the betrayed spouse is sharing, that oftentimes it's rooted in past trauma. And when you have that understanding, it allows you to listen to them with empathy rather than feeling your walls go up like it's an attack. Because I watched you do that, and I watched you really meet me with empathy a lot of the times. And just like you shared, it continued to keep me sharing when you would meet me in that space.
Yeah, and then taking ownership and responsibility. We mentioned it a couple of times, but as the wife who betrayed, it would be important that you take responsibility for your actions and not try to shift the blame onto your husband.
And there may be very real, valid reasons why you did what you did. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not getting the emotional
He's not
connection.
paying attention to me.
He's choosing work over me consistently. There's
If you knew what it was
excuses
like in my shoes, I'm at home all day long taking care of the kids. You're going off to work for 70, 80 hours a week, and then coming home and then sitting on the couch for the rest of the time watching TV and drinking beer.
And I'm lonely.
Yes.
Yes, there are very real, valid reasons, and those things need to be addressed in the marriage. But when you're talking about the betrayal, those are excuses because what you did was wrong. You should have never stepped out on the covenant of your marriage, regardless of what was going on in the marriage. That is something you can take ownership for without the other things involved. Now, there are times you're going to be able to talk about those things, but in the beginning, especially, that's not when. We didn't really start talking about all the reasons behind the betrayal until much later because I couldn't even hear it from you. It just sounded like you were shifting the blame to something else.
The healing from both parties is a marathon, not a sprint. It is something that will take time, and you have a whole lifetime. You have a whole lifetime in the covenant of your marriage to heal, to work on your relationship. And I'm telling you that if you don't put a time limit on it and that you have patience and you are consistently working on the relationship and restoration of relationship, it's not only going to be a better marriage than it ever was before, but the amount of intimacy that can be grown, the amount of connection that can be grown in this is just exponential.
Amen. We're a testament to that. You may need to prioritize your husband's healing during this time. And oftentimes your healing is going to be all intertwined in that. But the betrayed spouse oftentimes needs to take the priority in the healing. And just knowing that your healing is still very important, like your individual work is very important. You need to get to the why you did what you did. You need to get to the root so that you can uproot that and never let it happen again. And so I want to encourage you that your individual healing is important and the betrayed spouse, your husband, may need to be prioritized during this time. You may be asking yourself, well, how do I start to implement these things? Like, where do I start? And we just want to send you to our resources. We have an online academy that has an amazing program. It's called Walking Through Betrayal. It's for no matter what dynamic, if you're the betrayed or the betrayer, it helps both spouses walk side by side in the healing together so that you can see each other's perspective while also working on your individual healing. So I want to point you there. And then we also, we have lots more videos about betrayal on our channel. So go binge watch some of our channel so that you can get more resources there that are free to you. And then we also have an intensive program. If you are a couple that is seeking healing and you want to take your marriage from a 2 and go up, then I would say go for it, because we see miracles. Like, we get to call ourselves miracle watchers because we get to see what God does in the marriages of things that I can't even describe to you. Like, we have seen awful things happen in marriage, but God is such a big God. And He can restore anything. All it takes is 2 open hearts. And so if that's you, we want to just encourage you to reach out to us. We want to be there to support you.
In today's episode, we talked about the wife that betrays the husband. And what does that look like? And how do you navigate that in a God-honoring way? And what I want to tell you, that no matter who's the betrayer, no matter what has gone on in your relationship, what we want to bring to you on this channel and on every video is there's always hope. There's always hope in Jesus. The reason He died is to save us and to take back the victory and win over Satan's lies that we have, that has us not being our best self. There's always hope in Jesus. We can always turn to Him. He is the one that will restore our hearts. He is the one that will restore our relationships. And we always want to point you to Him first.
Yeah, really lean into Him. He is our Savior.
Thank you for joining us on this episode.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you next time. And like I said, we have more videos, so I'm going to pop one in right here if you want to continue your journey.
Right there.
Right there. Bye. It's a wrap, babe. Good job.
Yeah, that was. I got a little off
That's
track there
okay.
for a minute.
That's all right.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.